Hello again. Happy Tuesday. We've got some sunshine here in northern Michigan, which is real fun. I don't know exactly where this conversation today is going to go, so we're just going to kind of rip with it and see what happens. So the first thing I know I want to talk about is the last episode by our favorite around here, Tucker Carlson. The latest video he put out was fascinating. And one of the things that he mentioned in his intro to the video, so he always does a long segment of intro before he goes on to talk with a guest. And the guest interview is pretty fascinating too, all about the business of basically Protestant church is, and I guess I would say all churches have a 501c3 status, thereby they don't have to pay taxes. And so without proper legal hierarchy, you can have a really, really corrupt enterprise, such as the enterprise that's run by Pam White, who is some spiritual council leader within the White House or something like that. I don't even know. I don't care. Religious liberties, blah, blah, blah. She's the queen matriarch around that cult. And anyways, this guy does a very good investigative work in how all of that stuff works and how it runs and how it's crazy and corrupt, and he does a pretty good job at talking about that. However, in the intro before that interview, Tucker goes on to blast Trump for all of his heretical, horrific behavior, period. But then especially highlighting his behavior on Easter Sunday, arguably the most holy day of the universe is on Easter Sunday. And we can argue about when that date is, because there is obviously a division in the church, and my church doesn't celebrate Easter on the typical Easter Sunday. It's on a different calendar system. I don't know. I don't care. I mean, I do care. I definitely do care when I am going to be very much so celebrating the Easter that my church celebrates. But I'm not mad at Christians for celebrating a different Easter. That's not what I care about. But anyway, on Easter Sunday, Trump tweeted or truthed some fucking crazy posts. And pardon my language, Tucker Carlson calls out Trump for using the F word on Easter Sunday, which is very appropriate. I mean, I am not the president of the United States, okay? I'm just a dumb girl who says bad words way too often. I really do need to watch my potty mouth. But I am most definitely not the president of the United States. If I did hold some sort of a title as such, I would not post anything pretty much ever. I'd be like, somebody else does that job. I'm not qualified enough to make posts. I don't want to. I would never tweet anything. I'd be like, I have no interest in doing that. I don't really like social media. Can someone else handle the account and make it very professional, please? Thank you. But I guess Trump is like, no, I love that job. That's my favorite part of the job, is tweeting and making everybody's brain break. But yeah, he's crazy. That man is nuts. And one of the things that I wanted to point out that Tucker Carlson points out is that Trump, during his inauguration, chose not to, I'm imagining, chose not to put his hand on the Bible. That was wild. And I remember that being very important. Even at as a brand new Christian, or maybe even before I was a Christian, I think I might have even thought about this before I became a Christian again. And I guess, let me say this, I am becoming a Christian. I'm still becoming one. Like, I'm not even baptized yet. I mean, I have been baptized in the Protestant church, but I haven't been baptized in my church yet. I'm in a process of becoming a Christian. And it's not because I haven't already accepted my Lord and Savior. That is, I accept him every day, every second. I accept him. I try very hard not to reject him. But as this guest on Tucker's show so eloquently put, it's not an altar call. It's not like a one-time deal and then you're in, unless you're running a business, in which case that's a very lucrative model. You can track your metrics, you can get investment probably. I don't even know. I'm good. I don't want to know. But yeah, we don't do altar calls in our parish. It's not like that. Praise God. We just acknowledge that it's like, welcome to the first day of the rest of your life, if you want it to be the rest of your life. Like, if it is the rest of your life, then it's also your story for eternity, which is exciting. Whereas these dumb evangelicals be out here like, it's a one and done. You just make one decision and you're in. Like, okay. Maybe it's that, maybe it's not that. I don't know. I'm not the designer of it all. Nor am I the president. However, one additional thing I really, really, really feel is super important to point out that I don't think Tucker might even know about. Maybe he doesn't even know about this. I'm sure he knows. I'm sure he's heard about it at some point, but this is just as important as choosing not to put your hand on the Bible if you're the president on Inauguration Day. The other most important point was they chose to host the inauguration inside of the Capitol building, underneath the main dome. Now, above in the dome, on the ceiling of the dome, is a purely pagan mural, like purely pagan, with like multiple gods and like presidents interacting with these basically like Greek goddesses and gods and stuff. Look at it. Like, you can go see it. You can look at it yourself, or you can just look it up online. But it's basically like this deeply, deeply, obviously pagan painting. And you can look up the meaning behind the art and stuff like that, and that's pretty fascinating too. But yeah, so number one, he's underneath this like pagan shrine doing the inauguration. And number two, he chooses not to put his hand on the Bible, which I would basically not be surprised if that wasn't a Bible. It was just blank pages. Like, that was round two of this liar in chief. Round one, honestly, in my opinion, it was just basically all one ball of deception. It was like 4 years of deception. 4 years of being deceived into something that then became a trap for the United States of America, for the citizens of America. Because all of a sudden, we went from being deceived into believing this is the anti-war guy because he gave us peace in his first presidency. But if you follow the path and you look at it from the kind of obviously zoomed out lens that we have the luxury of being able to zoom out now and look at the current reality. In addition, if you add in the Bible and you actually read it and you figure out that perspective, I mean, you can't fully figure it out. It's too difficult. Like, even if you have a theology background, even if you're a Catholic or an Orthodox priest, I do think that Orthodox priests probably have, ideally, I believe they have the fullest perspective that you can on earth, like, as a person. Like, is it perfect? I don't think so. Because if you're perfect, If you have the perfect full perspective, you're God, and none of the priests in the Orthodox Church would ever claim as such. So anyway, I don't know. I just trust those guys the most, and I certainly don't trust a pagan shrine, and I certainly don't trust the deceiver-in-chief, Donald J. Trump, and I never did, which is super fortunate for me. Yay, like, I get to wave the flag that's like, I never trusted him, but guess what else? Like, I also never trusted, well, I did trust Joe Biden. Yeah, I trusted Joe Biden for about 2 minutes. I actually don't think I ever trusted him, really. I really didn't. I was like, I don't even know this guy. He seems like kind of a nothing burger. So whatever. I don't care. But then he turned out to be a real tyrant. And I guess, yeah, I think that the thing about Trump is like how stark of a contrast and how good of a job he did at deceiving us all. You know, because even I did not vote for him, but even I thought, if he wins, that might not be the worst thing in the world. Because look what happened during his first term. We had a pretty good economy and until COVID, and we had no war. He had order. You know, he had restored order. He had commanded order, and it manifested. So what the hell happened? You know? Like, where along the path did this guy sell his soul? Like, was it before his first presidency? Did he get in this plan and have a master plan with somebody that would lead us to where we're at now before his first term? I think those are really important questions, and I don't have the answers. I have no idea. Who knows? But I would ask him that question. I would say, sir, do you acknowledge how vastly different your second term is from your first? Do you acknowledge? Do you remember how you used to brag about how many wars you brought to the end? Like, how many wars in this first term did he basically negotiate peace deals for on behalf of other countries that were warring with each other? And he was like basically saying he deserved a Nobel Peace Prize for it, which honestly, like, if you're the kind of person who knows how to end conflicts around the world, like, yeah, you do deserve a Nobel Peace Prize. But, like, praise God he didn't get one. To my knowledge, Donald Trump did not receive a Nobel Peace Prize. Praise God. But anyway, if he had continued in that and done even better at it, I would vote for his Nobel Peace Prize. Not that I get a vote for it, but like, if his first term matched his second term, but it was even better, we could have had the man. We could have had the fucking man, you know? He could have been the man. He could have been, like, the guy who had the actual Trump card all along, but just, like, figured out how to use it later in life. Meaning, he did a bunch of shit before this moment, and then was like, well, I guess I'm going to redeem myself by bringing peace to the Middle East and across the world. Like, I would say that's redeemed behaviorally. It's not up to me to judge your soul and where you go to heaven and whatever. That's not for me. But I would say, for human to human, if you behaved like Donald Trump behaved in business and all of his bad behavior on The Apprentice and all of that stuff, like, in all of his just shitty, horrible, aberrant behavior, tax evasions, whatever he did with Jeffrey Epstein, which who knows what that is. But if he came out and said, I'm going to find a way to end conflicts. I'm going to find ways to create peace deals across the world. If he did that, not perfectly, but to the best of his ability, I would look at him and say, you know what? You have redeemed yourself, sir. Not of if he violated women and was a rapist, which I wouldn't put it past this is like the pretend version of Donald Trump versus the real version of him. I'm sorry, like, of course he's a rapist. I mean, I don't know that. I shouldn't say that because I don't know. But like, he's basically raping the world right now. Like, he's penetrating the economies of countries all over the world without anyone's consent, including his own government or his own people that he's supposed to represent. He does not have our consent for this. He doesn't care about consent. There's no radical consent with that one. Oh, radical consent. Oh my God. I remember being like super into that concept. I was like, I'm going to think about this concept. I'm going to think about it so hard and I'm going to like obsess about it. And this was like a couple of years ago when I was deep in the new age. And now in hindsight, I'm like, it's not radical consent. It's just consent. Or it's not consent. No need for any radicalness about it. Let your yes be yes and your no be no. There you go. Solved your radical consent puzzle, Lydia. Former Lydia, who was dumb. It's okay. I forgive myself. Sorta. I think I consented to some things that I didn't know what I was consenting to back then. That's what happens when you just like are led by the fairy godmothers going on in your manifestation life. I was like, they're my guides. I'm following my guides. And I'm using my crystals to interpret their will. Good Lord. Anyway, from one new age dumbass to another. Hey, Trump. You made some mistakes, dude. And okay, where did you make the first mistake though? Where did you sell your soul? Was it before COVID? Maybe during the COVID thing, like they put you in a room and were like, all right, this is what you're doing. If you don't, we will we'll do whatever it takes. I don't know. We'll just clone you and turn you into what we want you to do anyway. I don't know. But I wish I could know what happened. Why the stark contrast? And how come are you underneath a pagan shrine? And why aren't you putting your hand on the Bible? And why did your Justice League princess compare you to Jesus? What is happening? Anyways, what's going on in my life? My sister is at my house. My big sister is like home. It's literally a dream I've been waiting for like 20 years or something. I don't know how to like grasp it, but I'm getting used to it. It's just like my nervous system is adjusting. All of our nervous systems are adjusting, and it's going really well. It's one of those things where you're just like, oh, okay, add it to the list of miracles. Add it to the long list of miracles. Does that mean I have everything that I like want? No. I don't even know what I want. I mean, I wanted this. I want peace in the Middle East real bad. I don't even know why. I just can't not. I have to like wish for that. I have to pray for that. I have to like ask God for his mercy on not only me first, so that I can have enough mercy to then ask for the provision and protection of the people across the globe. Like, Lord have mercy, give me the attention span needed to have enough empathy for people I've never met before. And asking for that's very easy, you know? It's an easy thing to ask for. And God, I believe, very freely grants that. Like, the minute you're like, hey, Lord, open up my heart to have more empathy for other people, to have more generosity and compassion toward other people, and Jesus is like, absolutely, that one's good. That's a good one to ask for. I have to ask for that for, you know, my judgment against all these politicians that are so murderous. I have to ask God for grace so that I can figure out how to, like, look at those guys from a different perspective. A Christian perspective. How do I look at them from a Christian perspective? Through the Christian lens. Which is still, even as a human being, it's still even an imperfect way, because it's just, I'm still so clouded in humanity, so clouded in all this sin of the, like, world. But to look at them with a Christian eye is not to say, I forgive you right away. But it is just to say, my very argument that Trump got into something where he had a soul contract that would have put him underneath a pagan shrine, right? Like, somebody orchestrated that. It wasn't just Trump. So who did he sell his soul to? What group? I mean, we all know what spiritual entity he sold his soul to. We understand that. That's very blatant and obvious. But who deceived him into that place? Who is responsible and behind the curtain on walking Trump one step at a time into that direction? What are the people around him? Was it his family? Who did it start with, you know? Because there's a lot of Christians, like, truly, I mean, even Tucker Carlson himself was a colleague of Trump's. You know, they've spoken one-on-one many times. And he listened. It seemed as if he was listening. And even Charlie Kirk. Close allies, close. And I just, what's been going on, like, to deceive this man? And if I could look at it from that perspective, it doesn't shift blame away from him completely, because you obviously hold the responsibility of your own choices. You're the one who chose all of that. But there's a certain point where you have to say, deception is understandable. We've all been deceived. Everybody has been deceived at one point or another in their life. And so it's understandable that a person such as Trump could be deceived. And it's probably very easy for him in particular to be deceived, because he had such a cozy upbringing, you know? You don't have a whole lot of street smarts when you grew up a millionaire. You don't know how to, like, you know, protect yourself from deception. Whereas people who grew up, you know, in the church, grew up scrappy because they had to be, you know, they learn how to, like, sift out lies from truth. And I will say, speaking from experience, when I first became a Christian, I was all in. I got, like, super swept up in it. And then when I was in it, finally I started realizing, like, that's a lie, or a liar. That's a person who lies. That's false. Because I have enough mental space to be able to, like, do pattern recognition. And I'm like, okay, I know a liar. I know someone who's lying, and I know lying behavior. And I just had to realize, like, this Protestant evangelical thing that I'm involved in, this enterprise that I'm involved in, it's not real. There's something very fake going on here. Now, that's one of the biggest heartbreaks of all time, because people don't know where to go. Like, that happened to me. I didn't know where to go after I left the church, and I was like, well, shit, I don't know what to do now. And I just didn't do anything for like 20 years until I eventually got into, like, the new age. And that gives you a ton of stuff to do. I mean, you're constantly doing stuff. When you're in the new age, there is no lack of things to do, practices to do, adventures to go on. And it is one big portal of deception. Very big. So I guess I would say that, like, I have the ability to recognize deception. I also have the ability to be deceived. I can both see a liar, but I can also be deceived. And it's like all of a sudden I have a little bit of grace for the people who are in public office who've been deceived. But you have to choose differently, if you want to stop being deceived. You have to say, I want to know what the truth is. That's as simple as it is. It's just that simple. It's like, I'm being deceived, so what is the truth? And I wish for their sakes that these people in higher places that have a lot more authority than me would do that. I wish for them to be able to do that. I wish for them to do that because it will help them become free. It will help them. It'll help set them free. It'll begin the process. And that's exciting. Scary, but exciting. Not scary. It's just, yeah. Fear nothing but God. I've already said that so many times in almost exactly that same way. Fear nothing but God. Definitely don't be afraid of getting out of a deceptive trap. Don't be afraid of that. Be afraid of being in a deceptive trap. Be like, whoa, I don't want to be in a deceptive trap. Sounds like not a good idea. It's not. I've been there. Promise. I got myself there of my own volition. So anyway, do I have the full truth now? No, I don't. I wish. That would be so nice. But God only grants me little sprinkles of the perspective. As much as I can handle. He's like, here is a gulp of water, Lydia. You can handle this big gulp of water. So I get big gulps of truth. One of the true things I just want to wrap this up with is the knowledge I came by of the mural in the state capitol building, the pagan mural above Trump's head during his inauguration in the Capitol building. Look that up. And then the fact that he didn't put his hand on the Bible. So I thought that was very interesting back then. I thought that was a moment. And now, and I thought, even to myself back then, I thought, I wonder how this is all going to play out. I thought those exact thoughts. And here we are. That's how it's playing out. The cool thing, though, is that the end of the story has not arrived yet. What does it look like for Trump to begin potentially, possibly redeeming himself? What does that look like? I don't really know that he's even, globally, geopolitically, I'm not really sure he can. At this point, I'm like, sorry, I don't know if you can walk yourself back from all of this. But I don't know. What does redemption for him look like? What would it take? What do we need to give in order to be able to forgive him at all? He would, he would just have to be open to probably a real conversation with someone. And then, not lying while he's in that conversation. I think that would be one good step in the right direction. But yeah, he be a liar. He be a liar. We know it. My hood radar is up with that one. It always has been. And, I don't know. You have to figure out how to stop lying, Trump. That's one step in the right direction. Figure out how to stop your lying ass. Stop your lying ass. That's enough. Have a great day.